Well, welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. I'm pleased that we're actually joined by one of our patrons this morning. So I'd just like to say welcome, thank you, Christopher Bowden-Hawkins from NIS this morning. Nice to see you. So here we are at the Data Protection webinar. And we are joined by our Platinum members, VWV. And we are here to learn about the new risks that have arisen with data protection since the lockdown. So I'm delighted to welcome Penny Bygrave, the Senior Associate in the commercial team at VWV. So Penny specialises in data protection audits and advising on all aspects of commercial contracts. So if I can hand over to you, Penny, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Alison and Gemma, for inviting us to be here today. Now, when I first was asked to speak about data protection, and I came up with the heading data protection in the new normal, we were still quite firmly within lockdown. Not long after I'd come up with that subject matter, we were all encouraged back to work, and I did think that I was going to have to maybe redo this topic. However, in light of recent events, I think that we can very much accept that working from home, the way we've been for the past 6 months, is likely to be the new normal for some time to come. Those that can work at home should work at home, and there are data protection issues that go with that. So I'm going to, do forgive me if I mess up, but I'm going to share my screen so that you can see slides. There we go. Hopefully you can all see that. So data protection in the new normal. Today we're going to be looking at issues around working from home, cyber security, then implementing test, track and trace, whether it's for staff or for customers, data protection issues around that. Latest government guidance. I hope you will forgive me if I am not, if I don't have the full works on that. I'm not entirely sure that our government has the full knowledge of what the latest guidance is, but then we'll be moving into some Q&A at the moment, sorry, at the end. So we've got till 11:45, so I'm going to talk for about 25 to 30 minutes and leave a good 15 minutes for questions at the end. Just to say, because I would be failing in my data protection, with my data protection hat if I didn't say this, if you want to submit a question to Gemma as we're going along on the chat box, that's absolutely fine, and she will put that to me at the end. If you want to ask the question yourself, the session is being recorded, so just be aware if you ask the session, if you want to ask the question yourself, you will be videoed doing so, but do feel free to put any written questions to Gemma. So I will start on then with the first cybersecurity issues and working from home. Now, I'm only really looking at the data protection side of things here. Home working has a whole raft of issues, employment issues around your duty of care to your employees, health and well-being. I'm just thinking about data protection. I'm not making any comment on whether it's better to work at home, better to be in the office. I'm just saying, if people are working at home, what issues you need to be aware of, and how you can mitigate the risks around those. So, legal obligations with regards to GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, is that you are obliged to adopt appropriate measures to keep personal data secure. So what is personal data? It's any information relating to an identified or identifiable living person. So it might not use their name, but if it's obvious from the content who it's about, then it's personal data. What I would say is that the GDPR is about personal data, but the recommendations and the requirements that it sets, very sensible for all company commercial information. So if you set the bar at the height required to protect personal data, you can also have some confidence that your other company sensitive commercial information would be protected whilst your staff are working at home. GDPR requires you to have organisational measures, that is policies, procedures, and I can't stress the importance of this, training, and technical measures, firewalls, antivirus software, and the likelihood of you experiencing breaches, data breaches whilst staff are working at home will be a combination of both, because you can have the best technical measures in the world, but if they make it so difficult for your staff to do their job, then your good staff will find workarounds in order to get the job done. But that's where the organisational measures come in, that you have to explain why they must not take sensitive documents out of the security of your business secure environment and put it on their home computer where perhaps the security is not so safe. That's where the organisational measures come in. So whilst staff are working at home and in the office as well, but you need to be taking extra steps to make sure that personal data is being protected. So first of all, strong passwords. Two-stage passwords is best practice. So for example, when I'm logging on to my remote system, I have I put the password in that says that I'm logging on, and then I get a message sent to my mobile phone, so it recognises it's me, and then I put that password in, and then I am allowed access via the VPN into my work secure server. Backing up the data, if staff are not working directly onto your systems, and so that your systems aren't being backed up, what steps are being taken to make sure that they are backing up data separately? Again, high risk if they are using commercial or personal data outside your secure systems, but sometimes it is not possible for them to be working on the office systems at home. Your antivirus software, again, make sure that their home computers are up to date. Appropriate have firewalls, patching and updating devices. We've had all sorts of issues with software updates, taking people offline, but it's really, really important that they know that they need to accept the updates when they're using their personal devices. So the temptation just to say, do it later, do it later, do it later. And then, of course, you're not working on with the latest protection. Oh, two-factor authentication. So I just mentioned that at the top when I said strong passwords. And then staff training. That is something that I'm going to come on to as part of this, and the importance of that. But I'll just mention it now. If you have not trained your staff around the importance of personal data and you have a personal data breach, then the Information Commissioner's Office will not take that well. They see staff training as being a very basic requirement. And then guidance for staff whilst working at home. Have you given them some guidance? Is it easily available? Have you made sure that they have actually read it and understood why it is so important that they follow it? Sometimes even when the systems that you're introducing may feel that it's difficult, and may feel that you're putting blocks in their way, it is really important that they keep the work secure, and just because they're working at home is not a good enough reason to say that you should have less security. What we've seen in the last 6 months is an absolute, mountain of criminal activity in terms of scams and phishing, trying to get access to people working from home. People perhaps are feeling more exposed to scams, and sadly, from data protection purposes, the Information Commissioner is not, because somebody is working from home and not in the office, is not going to be a good enough excuse for if you allow somebody to access your systems. So again, training, guidance, information. What to look out for? They are getting more and more sophisticated, but some of the things to look out for in scam emails and phishing is anything that's asked you to react very quickly, that's playing on your emotions. So urgent, your system is at risk. Click this link in order to update your computer. That, you know, I've just said how important it is to follow those updates when they come from a genuine source. And of course, the scammers know that, so they will be looking for something to scare you and encourage you to click a link. Almost invariably they will involve clicking a link. These scams are not very often coming from other countries, and it's common that the English is not perfect. Having said that, I receive lots of emails on a daily basis from genuine clients and colleagues where the English is not perfect. So that's not, you know, a rule of itself, but that's, you know, something to look out for. The email address looking slightly strange. Again, this is difficult in times when we're busy, we're trying to get on with things, but you should all be telling staff to make sure they check the email address where something's come from. Usually if you hover over it with the mouse, it will reveal if there is an underlying email. So it might say this is coming from your managing director, and it might say John Smith, but if you hover your mouse over it, it will almost certainly reveal an underlying email address if it is dodgy. Not addressed personally to you as an individual, so dear customer, dear friend, whatever, but that is not to say that if it is addressed to you, that the scammers, you know, haven't got your name. And as I say, the chances are, in order to get into the system, you're going to be asked to upload a link, click on a link, upload a document, provide some details. Absolutely, you know, any security email that's asking you to provide your login details would send alarm bells to me. Maybe asking you to go onto a website. If in doubt, check with your IT team. I would suggest that a policy where people are encouraged to check and take that bit of time is much safer than than getting cross with somebody saying, yes, of course, that's from me. You know, why are you wasting my time? Don't. You know, you want to encourage people to raise it with you and to flag it if they are concerned. If people are raising these issues with you, it means that they know they have taken on board the security issues that they need to be aware of and now following the guidance. It's not, you know, you won't get everything, you know, it's chances are some scams will come through, but as long as you have a process of encouraging staff to check and to be risk averse, then you may avoid a personal data breach. If in the unfortunate case that you do you are hacked or you do experience a scam, then for a GDPR personal data breach, this is a security incident that has affected the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of personal data. So if somebody has hacked your bank account, that company bank account, that's unlikely to be personal data. However, there's you know, if you've been hacked, if your financial account's been hacked, chances are other parts of the business have. It may be that the cyber attack causes the breach, but very, very often, especially when people are working out of the office, the data breach happens due to human error. Papers or laptop left on a train, an email sent to the wrong person could be a data breach. So you need to have policies and procedures that recognise when something has happened. Again, even low level, even like an email sent to the wrong person, a procedure that will encourage people to report that up the chain. If you have a data protection officer, then they need to be aware that this is happening. If you don't have a statutory data protection officer, somebody in the organisation should be taking responsibility for data protection, and you need a process for even small errors to be reported, and preferably a no blame culture, because if you don't keep a record of what's happening, lots and lots of little errors could mean that you've actually got sort of an institutional problem in a particular area, and lots of little errors almost certainly precursor to a more significant breach. So as I said at the outset, training is the first thing that the ICO is going to ask you. If you experience a data breach, they're going to say, what training did you have? All staff in the business should have some data protection training, and the absolute basic is that you should have something in induction that says this is how the business protects personal data. Here's our privacy notice. This is how we'll protect your data. Here's our privacy notice for customers. This is how we expect you to deal with your customers' data. And there should be ongoing training. There is no specified. There's no, it must be every 6 months. It must be annually. It must be 2 years. I would say no longer than 2 years to do an update after induction. Annual, probably best. 6 months if somebody has. If you've got regular turnover of staff, then I will be looking at doing these things every 6 months or so. And also specific training for people with particular roles. So the HR will need to understand what they're doing with staff data. Marketing will have need to particularly understand the rules around sending marketing. I've put trustees, I think this has slipped through from another slide when I was talking to some charities, but senior management, the board will need one set of knowledge. The actual operative people on the floor will need a different set of knowledge. So I would say specific training. There's some excellent online courses out there. You can download a webinar that will have test questions, so it can record whether somebody's actually done the training. It will give anything from 5 to 10 questions at the end to see have they understood it. So you've got a record of what understanding that the person has. Obviously, I am in favour of in-person training because every business is different, and how your processes and procedures work for your staff will be different to another business. But obviously I like to do in-person training, so I actually like to come along and meet my clients and talk to them and do that one-to-one training. Then I can answer any very bespoke, specific questions that people may have, which you don't get a chance on the webinar. But that's just me pushing that you should all ask me to come and do some training with you. There are plenty of online courses which the ICO do recognise as being sufficient for a basic understanding. So practical tips in terms of working from home. You want to develop a culture of data protection, not just in the office. That culture needs to acknowledge the wider issues around home working. Be vigilant. That's gone. Be vigilant and make sure that your staff are being vigilant. Prepare for data breaches. Assume that it will happen. have a process for how will you manage it? What will you do in terms of mitigation? Have a process for who is responsible for reporting to the Information Commissioner if you experience a breach that comes to that level. So appropriate training and appropriate documentation. And those last things are certainly things that we, and preparing for data breaches, we advise lots of clients on, and we can help with those. So the second part of the this morning's talk is is very current. Everyone's now talking about it. I've been talking about it for months, but everyone now is talking about the test, track and trace, because last week we saw the launch of the government app. For those of you that have not downloaded it yet, I can't say whether or not I'm not making any recommendation. What I can say is that as a data protection lawyer, I am very happy to download the app. I have read, I don't know how many people have, I have read the very detailed data protection impact assessment and the privacy notice that goes with it, and I am reasonably comfortable that they are collecting only what they need and that they are taking steps to protect it. And personally, I'm comfortable with the amount of data that's stored on my own personal device and what will be shared centrally. As I say, I'm not making any recommendation. What we do know is that we need, I think it's around 60% of the population to be using the app if it's to be really effective in the tracking the spread of the virus side of things. In terms of tracing people, if it traces one person, then I think Matt Hancock said that he would consider that to have done its job. But it means that 80% of people with smartphones have to download it, because we have to understand that a lot of the population don't have smartphones. So I have downloaded it, although I have to say I've got a really rubbish old Android platform, and it keeps going round and round and round. I don't think it's properly working. It is an important tool in the government's response to this. Obviously, testing. In order to get on top of the virus, we need to test as a nation. We need to track the spread of the virus, and we need to trace the people that have been infected. If you are thinking of doing anything within your own business, so now, obviously the government has its own legal basis for the national system, but if you are looking at doing something, whether it's testing your staff, or whether it is introducing your own app for tracing contacts, then you must, I can't stress this enough, you must carry out a data protection impact assessment, because if you're doing the testing, then obviously you're collecting health data. That's considered to be a special category of data, and therefore you need a particular level of protection to go with that. If you are tracing people, if you are tracking, if you are doing anything that involves geolocation data of your staff, then it is considered highly privacy invasive, and the ICO require you to do a data protection impact assessment. I'm not going to spend this morning telling you what that involves. It's a risk assessment. Now, a whole list of questions, what you're doing, and you're trying to get a balance. Is what I am introducing, is this system, is this process appropriate? Is it proportionate? Is it necessary in order to achieve the purpose? And the purpose is going to be minimizing the spread of the virus. So if you are thinking of this, please do talk to us, because we can provide you with the documentation that you need to record the data protection impact assessment. It's also, you can also download it from the Information Commissioner's website. Again, blow my own trumpet. I find the Information Commissioner's documentation a little bit clunky, and we do this all the time, and we can talk you through, in very practical measures what needs to be done. But the resources are out there for you to do it yourself. You don't need to instruct lawyers if you don't wish to do so. In terms of track and trace, whether or not, even if you're not downloading an app, just what you need to do within your business. So we know that a lot of businesses are obliged to collect data, and with the new guidance, you are obliged to share some information with track and trace. So those of you in the hospitality, close contacts, you know, hairdressers and barbers and tattooists, bars, restaurants, and some retail, the guidance is that you must display one of the government QR posters, so that people who have downloaded the app can scan it to show that they've been in your premises. You are obliged to display the poster. You are not obliged to ensure that everybody scans it, because you can't control who has the app or not. If you're not using the QR poster and if you are collecting names and contact details manually or via your own app, then you must only collect what you need, and you must only use it for the purposes it is collected. You know, I've had a lot of clients say, oh, this is, you know, can we add these people to our marketing lists? No, unless you ask them. If, when you're collecting their data, you say, we're collecting this for track and trace, would you like to go on our mailing list? And they say yes, that's fine. But if they're providing it to you for track and trace, then you should only use it for track and trace. You shouldn't keep it longer than necessary. And in this case, that is my understanding, unless the guidance has changed. But when I wrote these slides, it was 21 days. And you must have appropriate technical and organisational measures to keep the data secure and confidential. And most importantly, can't stress this enough, you must be transparent. You must tell people what you are doing and what their rights are, and this should be in your privacy notice. In some cases, I've seen some really good privacy notices where it's just written, you know, at the entrance, this is what we're collecting, this is why we're collecting it, this is how long we keep it, this is who we share it with, and then a number for them to contact. You can put your privacy notice on your website, but I would say if you're collecting data for track and trace, you need to make sure that privacy notice is updated to cover that processing. Just because it's a legal obligation, that covers your lawful basis for collecting the data, it doesn't discharge your duty for telling people that you're collecting data about them. That's your privacy notice. And it wouldn't be a talk if I didn't just touch on the big, the old normal, where it's all talking about Brexit. So Brexit is still coming. Brexit is happening. And when we leave the EU, certain documentation that you keep with regards to data protection will need to be updated. Now, this is the same whether you've got staff working at home or not. This is not actually to do with the new working, the new normal. This is just a reminder that this is coming. We do not know what deal will be made. We do not know whether or not the latest proposals, earlier this month, there was a launch of a whole new data society that we're going to move to being the best country in the world in terms of how we use and commercialise data, not necessarily personal data. So there's lots of plans for things to change. We do not yet have what's known as an adequacy decision from the EU. That is where the EU decide whether or not the UK has adequate protection to enable European countries to transfer personal data to us. But whatever the deal is, there will be certain things I would suggest that you will need to look at. Your privacy notices in terms of telling people what data you collect, and particularly if any of your customers are outside the EU, are outside the UK within the EU. Your Article 30 record, that is what records the legal basis for your processing, and your contracts with suppliers. This is the biggie, the contracts. If you are working across borders and transferring personal data across borders, when the UK leave the EU, those contracts may need to be updated to allow you to share personal data with with countries that are still within the EU. And on that note, I think that is just about the right time to move to any questions.
Right, okay, so yeah, we have had some questions come through, Penny. So first of all, so Pavlina, sorry Pavlina if I've said that incorrectly. So coming back to the beginning of your presentation to do with training. So the question there is, does the training need to come from a recognised training provider, or some sort of certificate need to be issued, or could you do it in-house, say with your director giving some training or giving them, say, a document to read? How in-depth does the training need to be to basically be recognised by the ICO?
Well, there's no formal training. So it is what is appropriate to your business, and it absolutely doesn't need to be an expensive external provider. What we do at VWV, we do a lot of train the trainer. So we might go in and talk to some senior board members about data protection, talk to them about what the company is doing, what the different departments within the organisation are doing, what different people, so you know, the HR team, the marketing team, if you're consumer facing, or if it's business to business, if you are working with partners overseas, etc. And then what we will do is usually provide some guidance at that level, and then maybe some slides and some training materials for the senior management then to flow that training down within their teams. So we do that quite a lot. As I say, there's online resources out there. Obviously, I would look to make sure that the online provider is legit and, you know, has. But there isn't. There are certificates. There are data protections. There are organisations that issue data protection practitioner certificates, but there isn't a recognised certification that the ICO says you must have this. So training must be appropriate. It's got to go beyond. Here's the policy, signed to say you've received it. You need to do some assessment to make sure that the person has understood what's expected of them. But it doesn't have to be a specialist doing the training. Okay.
Thank you. So if I can come next to Indira, I know she's got a couple of questions. I don't know if we can unmute if she would like to.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'm a counsellor, a therapist, so confidentiality is quite important. Well, it's very important to clients. In my COVID-19 policy, I say that I may need to share your details with NHS Track and Trace under certain circumstances, but not how I know you. Do you feel that's quite acceptable, my wording of it?
Possibly. So I think you need to, some sharing some information with some people isn't specific enough. You know, what information? Your name and the date and time of your visit. So
I think I say
with NHS Track and Trace.
I think I say contact details. I might need to share your contact details. Sorry, yes.
Yeah. So contact details with NHS Track and Trace.
Yes.
Or other parties. That we will share. I may need to share your contact details with NHS Track and Trace for the purpose of, you know, supporting the Track and Trace program. Are you an industry that's under a legal obligation to provide that data? So some are. Do you know? Have you checked the guidance?
Have I checked the guidance for?
whether or not the service that you're providing. So you said it's counselling.
Yes.
So in what circumstances would you be sharing? Because
I will be seeing clients face to face.
So if you contract
yeah, I guess if I contract it, then due to that, what do they call it, in public interest, I would need to then
just to drill down to
yes.
So because what you have to do is specific. In what circumstances will you share their data? And that's if you have the virus and you are having to tell contact tracers that these are the people that you come into contact with.
I guess so, but also if they contact me, I guess, and say I don't know what the circumstances that the NHS track and trace put in place, but say they come to me and say I have been in contact with someone they know of, and who have I been in contact with, they may ask me that. I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances will be yet, hence I keep it slightly vague.
Yeah, so you have to tell them that it's a possibility. I would say, and obviously I would need to draw it, you may, your duty of confidentiality to your patients, to your customers, might override your obligation to tell, track and trace. I would need
to. Really?
No, yeah, I would need to look at what your regulatory system is. But if you think it is likely or possible that you will tell the NHS track and trace, absolutely you should. But you say what information, your contact details, who NHS track and trace, why? Because I've been contacted and I've been asked to tell them who I've been in contact with. If you want to discuss whether or not your duty of confidentiality will override that, please just drop me a line outside, because there are exemptions.
Yes, that's right. And I do, I hasten to add, I do have a waiver, and they do sign it. They do sign to say they've read my policy and they're okay with it. So I do have that cover. But yeah, I did want to check if it was okay. So okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know you also asked a question about so GDPR on leaving Brexit, whether GDPR would no longer exist once leaving Brexit.
Is there any possibility that they might just delete it?
I've been saying for 2 years now, and then I read this new data proposal earlier this month, and I thought, ooh, maybe yes. I think on balance, no. So GDPR was brought into law in the UK with the Data Protection Act 2018, and I have not seen anything to suggest the 2018 Act is going to be done away with. So GDPR is law in this country by virtue of UK parliamentary Act of Parliament. That won't change when we leave. The Act cross-refers to the text of the GDPR, but the GDPR, as it is written at the moment, is UK law, and I'm not expecting that to change.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we had a question from Susie. I don't know if Susie wants to ask, but it was to do with the DPIA template, and I think you briefly touched base on it. So obviously the ICO template is sort of high level, maybe not as easy to follow. And do VWV actually have an easier template to follow, or can you recommend an easier template?
So what we do at VWV is so the ICO template works if you can just I sometimes have to stick my head in a bucket, but the ICO template does what it needs to do, but it's written by data protection practitioners and not people who manage businesses. What we do at VWV, we do have templates, but we make it bespoke. So we would talk to you. So what is it that you're planning to do? What are your issues? How does your business operate usually? And then we sort of talk through. So the VWV template looks very like the ICO template. In fact, in terms of the questions that we ask, it mirrors it. But what we do is that we talk you through, well, what does that question actually mean? What are they trying to get at? So we don't have a template that I could say, oh yes, this is much easier to follow. What we basically offer is wraparound support in if you're carrying out a data protection impact assessment. There are other materials out there that you can download online. Again, but if you're going to do that, I would suggest that you use the ICA one, because it covers all the questions. But just sometimes you just have to read the questions 2 or 3 times and say, well, what are they getting at here?
I think Susie was referring specifically to like employee testing.
Oh right, so an impact assessment for employee testing. We've worked with a number of clients for those. Again, it will depend on the business that you're in. So the clients that I've specifically been working with on this have been schools. And boarding schools in particular, where they have very particular issues around the contact that the children are having, and they have a legal duty of care to keep those children safe. So if you are operating in an area where you have a legal duty of care to protect your customers, then testing which absolutely should be something that you are thinking about, but the risk balance there, rather than an employer who's bringing people back into the workplace, then testing, what you're going to have to decide, what the risk assessment will whether it's the ICA template or one that we designed for you. The first question is, what is the necessity, and is it necessary? Are there less proportionate ways of achieving this purpose? So, what are you trying to achieve? Well, and mandatory testing of employees, I would say, is going to be tricky to get over the threshold of necessity. Voluntary testing of employees, it needs to be truly voluntary. If they say, actually, do you know what, I don't want to be tested, then they mustn't have any repercussions, because if you're doing voluntary testing, so if you're trying to rely on consent for the purpose of GDPR, it has to be genuinely freely given, and in a workplace context, that is very difficult because of the imbalance. If your employer says, we want you to be tested, and you say no, and you think you might get the sack by saying no, then you're going to say yes, aren't you? But that is not freely given consent. So it all depends on the necessity. But absolutely, if you contact me afterwards, I'm sure we can have a look at what you need to do for your organisation in terms of employee testing.
Was that okay, Susie?
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? No others have come through on the chat, so I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. No?
What I would say, it's just, so we are wading through the latest guidance at the moment, guidance for employers, guidance for owners of buildings, guidance for anyone that's got contact with the public. And we have, on the VWV website, we have a COVID page where we've got some advice and some analysis about the latest situation. We've got employment lawyers who regularly update sort of frequently asked questions, and we've also got an information law page, an information law track and trace page, which it is my job to update, which I'm really looking forward to, with the latest some information on the latest track and trace. So do look at the VWV website, just to, if you want to get some of the latest updates on the guidance.
No, thank you so much, Penny. So hopefully that's answered some questions for you all, and you found that informative and helpful. Penny, I don't know if you could stop sharing your screen now. That'd be lovely. Thank you. So just to finish off, I'll just let you know of some upcoming things that's going on with the Chamber. So upcoming events. So tomorrow we have our grand reveal. So if you are not yet booked on, so for our Inspiring Hearts Awards, next year is going to be our 10th year anniversary, and we have some exciting news to shout out about tomorrow. So again, if you're not booked on, it'd be interesting to see if you can come on to that. And the 21st of October is going to be our next virtual networking event, but it's going to be a bit different. So it's come and meet the neighbours. So in conjunction and collaboration with Herts Chamber, they will be bringing some of their members along. Likewise, we will be. So again, it'll be an interesting networking event. If you are available, please do come along. It is free for our members. So again, all members, it's free to attend. 22nd of October, we have our next summit, and this one is going to be the supply chain. So our confirmed speakers so far are Inland Homes, My Energy Consultants and Serco. We do have more to follow, so please keep an eye on that, and we'll have some more information and confirmed speakers coming up. We have got some new support initiatives that are coming up to help you guys and help the businesses. So if you've heard of the Kickstart scheme and you want to know some more information, we have teamed up with the Herts Chamber and Wenta. So on our webpage, you can register an expression of interest on there. And we have a new initiative where we have teamed up with the Herts Growth Hub and Brandwin, so peer networks. This is for small business leaders that want to grow and develop. The programme creates diverse cohort groups of individuals to collaboratively work through common business issues. So again, watch this space, and on our website you can watch a small video for more information on this and register. And again, we have an entrepreneur foundation. So for our budding entrepreneurs, if you yourself or know of any entrepreneurs that would be interested in a 2-year program that's designed to nurture and grow our budding entrepreneurs and individuals, again, look at our website for more information on that. But again, thank you for joining us this morning. Stay in touch and hope to see you again on one of our next webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.